Inflation fight. I'm going to ask if our greeters would be willing and ready to introduce any guests or visiting returns that we might have this morning. I see Deb's coming forward. Deb was trying to get fired this morning. She was messing up the iPad. We'll give you the opportunity. You can reclaim yourself by introducing our guests.
Good morning. If the guests would please stand as I announce their name and remain standing until we can greet everybody. Scott Burford.
Scott.
And Gwen Plaskin.
Gwen.
Welcome.
Good morning, Scott and Gwen. Scott, we look forward to having you here as a permanent member here in the near future. And Gwen, we look forward to your presentation this morning. Certainly be an interesting program. So I'm looking forward to it. Dan Calloway, you going to do our 50-50 drawing? Hey, we have a couple of standards here in this club, just so you know. I'll give you a card.
Okay.
That's fine.
Two 63903.
That's right. 903 Lydell. Congratulations, Lydell. It's a tough crowd today. Does anybody have any announcements to make this morning? Mr. Kohler is up and ready to talk about Pints for Polio.
That is correct. Pints for Polio is coming up quick here. We still need more auction items, especially big auction items, over $250. We are getting raffle items in, starting to trickle in. If anyone has any of those two, see Wendy or myself. We'll take care of that. And I have tickets for sale. I'll be sitting at the table as you exit today to get you tickets. And Wendy is holding up the mystery basket, which, oh, look, it's back there. Look at that. No peeking, whatever you do. But I understand, from rumors that there's some really good items in there this year. So don't forget to get your tickets and we'll sell those on your way out too. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Tim, do we have a financial goal that we're shooting for this year? As much as we can raise. So I do want to say something as far as just spread the word. I've had other Rotary Club presidents ask me when this event's taking place. They're going to promote it to their clubs. So I think it'll be a really great event. The two presidents from York North and the Dallastown Red Line Club have been to this in the past and they really enjoyed it. So they're promoting it to their club. So it's good to see that this is a building event. Now our third one that we've done. So great job. Jim.
Morning, everybody. Morning. Road cleanup is this Saturday at 8 o'clock. CVS at the top of Edgewood. I sent out an email and I got quite a few responses. Unfortunately, most of them were that people can't make it. Long story short, we've got 3 people right now. One is me. So if you can recheck your schedules and shoot me an email, I'll send a reminder out later this week. And it's supposed to be sunny, and I'm not making that up. But it's supposed to be sunny. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. There's always treasures to be found along Edgewood Road, and you never know what you'll find. What a good event. We've been doing this for a number of years, and it's a it's an enjoyable thing to do. It sounds like a strange thing when you're just walking along the roadside picking up trash, but I think there's a camaraderie part that goes along with the group that you're with. And as you walk down and come back and clean up that roadway. Any other announcements to be made? Wendy?
When I ordered moms from the York North Club, I have them in my car. I will walk outside and when I carry them all in. So meet me, I parked around the corner. Yeah.
Very good. And thank you to anybody that supported the York North Club and that fundraising event. So, thank you. Anyone else? So I'm out of practice. You know, we had our golf outing. 2 weeks ago. Last week I was out of town. I've skipped our happy dollars and I see that Lydell is back there waving enthusiastically. So Lydell, do you want to start off with the happy dollar?
I'm gonna say, very happy. Thank you very much.
And we're happy to see you here, Lydell. You do need to show up to win. That's part of the criteria.
2 weeks in a row.
Oh, okay, good. Go ahead. Do you want me to come to you?
Right, either way, we'll meet in the middle.
Oh, okay, that sounds good.
5 happy dollars, because that's all I got here. Yeah, for Nate Kyle, the York Revolution champs of the Atlantic League. And a lot of it's thanks to Nate. He runs the whole show. I mean, it's amazing. Whatever it takes. I always enjoy having breakfast with Nate because he's one of the only guys in the club that is a baseball fan. I mean, hardcore. So I learned a couple months ago, he's a New York Mets fan, even though he's from central Pennsylvania. Well, the Mets pulled off an improbable victory. We were talking about retirement over here. One of the nice things is there was an afternoon baseball game on yesterday. Well, what do you know? Sit back and watch it on a Monday afternoon. I was sure they were done and they rallied late in the game and of course went nuts and now they're moving on. It's crazy. I think about you, Nate, when I see this stuff. Oh, they must be going nuts over this. Yeah, good deal. You're welcome.
You owe more than $5 for that long announcement. Hey, how? Hey, Bill, how are the Orioles doing?
So far, so good.
Okay,
Thanks for asking.
all right. Anyone else? Any other happy dollars? Karen? Yeah. Some of them take longer than others, Karen. Anyone else? Any other happy dollars? Okay, if not, I'm going to ask if Jeff Snyder would come forward and introduce our speaker for this morning.
Thanks, Greg. I was fortunate enough to draw the month of October, which has 5 Tuesdays. So I thought I'd try to do something a little bit different. And instead of having a charitable organization come in, I would try to do something informative. And Greg liked the idea so much that he took 2 of the 5 weeks away from me. I think it was a subtle hint. But in any case, a lot of us use technology. In my case,
The problem we're gonna have.
everyone pretty much knows that I have a technology skill to Fred Flintstone. I just got rid of a flip phone about 2 years ago, and I don't even know how to use a smartphone, but I do know how to answer when it rings. So for today's program, I asked Gwen Plaskin, who works with me at the bank, to talk about cybersecurity. It's something that is really pretty scary, and she's going to give us some examples of some of our clients at the bank who have gotten burned, some by big amounts of money. But I thought it's something we should all pay attention to. It's pretty scary stuff. One other thing I'm going to share with you, AI. You know, we're hearing a lot about AI. A couple weeks ago, the school that my grandkids go to 10th grade boy took the faces of 20 girls in his class and superimposed them on various bodies that were naked, put it out on the internet. And those girls were so ashamed, some of them couldn't come to school. The kid got expelled right away, but those are the things you have to worry about. So all this stuff sounds great, but it's also a little bit scary. So with that, I'll introduce Gwen. Gwen's had about 20 years of banking. She's our treasury management specialist. We go through training almost every week at the bank because of new things that come up that people find ways, to take money from people, sometimes from us, sometimes from our clients. When I started in banking 50 years ago, you had to worry about a guy coming in with a gun. These guys are a lot smarter. So Gwen, with that, I think you flip this thing on to like.
All right, can you guys hear me okay? All right, awesome. Thank you guys very much for having me today. Yeah, scams are a big thing right now. To be honest with you, I come home work on Thursday and I have a debit card from a bank called Go Got Bank, something like that. Here, Walmart has a bank, it's called Green Dot Bank. I did not open an account there. Here, now I have an account opened up there. So I called the phone number, I talked to gentlemen. Unfortunately, it's a little bit of a language barrier because who I'm calling is not from around here. And I asked for the information he has on the system, maybe even an email, because he has my phone, he has my address because they sent me the debit card. So I say, can I have the email address you have? Can I have the phone number? No, we can't give that to you. So I'm like, in banking, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, wow, this is okay. So of course, I'm very upset. I feel violated. I feel traumatized because my identity, I'm in banking. I should be able to protect my own identity. The sad thing is, so I asked the gentleman, I said, well, did you check systems? That's what banks use. So if somebody goes and they don't pay their money back to a bank, we report them to check systems, but then makes it difficult for them to go to another bank. That's how we can help to combat that fraud. But guess what? This bank does not do. They do not check systems. So this happened to me back in 2020. I started CNN back in June of 2020. I get an email, welcome to TD Bank. Really? Here we go again. So that was back in 2020. So again, there's really not a lot we can do to stop things from happening. So what I'm going to do today is kind of talk about things we can do to kind of alert us, to kind of keep us aware, and then also to kind of keep an eye out for some of the scams that are out there today. The sad thing is there's a lot of scams. And I hear a lot of times people will say, like, the romance scams. How do people fall for those? I'll be honest with you, obituaries. I don't like them. Why? You're listing everything about that person. You know where they went to high school. You know how many grandkids they have. So right there's a list of everything. So yeah, it is. I'm still on the first screen. Social media. Everybody answers those questions. People are like, oh, get to know you. How many of this do you have? What's your favorite food? A lot of challenge questions when we have emails or we have to reset things. What are they? Those kind of questions. Where were you born? Everyone's like, oh, let's get to know each other. No. And then people put so much onto social media. They put the pictures of the kids, kids, everything under the sun, because we want to be involved. We want to know what's going on, with you. And we want to celebrate your successes. We want to be there too. And then there's also, of course, the negativity on there too. But the romance scams, I'm going to be honest, this is one of the biggest ones that's out there right now. Being at CNN, we also have a branch. We're more commercially focused. We have a branch. I have had 2 gentlemen walk into my office. One was looking for Farmers First Bank. The check was made out to an F&M. And he came in, he goes, my bank won't cash this. Well, my first question is, why won't your bank cash this? That's my first question. And I said, well, tell me the story. Where'd you get this check from? Oh, my girlfriend gave it to me. Her attorney said that I should make the check payable. He should make the check payable to me so I can get the inheritance. I'm like, let's really think about this. And I'm trying to question without making this individual feel like they're stupid or feel like they shouldn't have done what they've done, because they're very vulnerable too. He was an older gentleman. And of course we did not cash the check. He left with that check, and I hope that he won't cash that check. I took it a step further. He told me what bank he banks at. I called his bank just to say, hey, you may want to sit down and have a conversation with this gentleman, because he's not listening to me. He thinks that this person is really his girlfriend. Just recently, we opened an account for a gentleman who came in, brought cash, opened an account. and did a thing where Marine Finance is another bank. What they'll do is they'll send out something and they'll give you a loan for $2,500. Once you sign that paperwork, that's now your loan. This is what this gentleman did. Made a deposit to the bank, and started cash apping. That's pretty much sending money electronically out, $1,000 here, $200 here. He was paying for the lady that he met in Philadelphia. He was paying for her kids for their scholarship. I think a scholarship's a little more than $250 that he paid to her. So I called him, and again, I tried to have that conversation. His story had changed numerous times. But again, unfortunately, you'll find out when I go over some other things, romance scams is one of the biggest things. Again, this stuff is not gonna go away. So what I kind of wanted to do was, and I know you guys can't really see this, and I can always send this presentation out if anybody would like it, but what I have is some questions of different things, some scenarios. So I thought maybe we could do a little interacting if that's okay. So I'm gonna give you a scenario. One of your friends lets you know you have a risk-free investment. It's a quick, easy money. You don't have to worry about it. They heard it from a really good friend. Does that sound like a scam? Can anybody tell me what that word was that we heard? Risk-free. Investments are not risk-free. That's the biggest thing. But again, we trust people. We hear it from other individuals who heard it from somebody else. And by the time I got to you, you're making millions of dollars. Maybe the only person made $10. Again, things change over time with that. So another scenario, you receive the following warning from your bank, whether by text message or by email. This is your bank and it has been compromised. What do? Do you call a number in the email you got? No. Do you click on that link inside that email? No. I'll tell you the biggest one right now that I've gotten for clicking on links is Xfinity. I use Xfinity just strictly, I have a Comcast, that's all I use that for. But I also have Yahoo. I get an email from Xfinity telling me my service is about to be turned off. I'm like, oh my gosh, I know I paid my bill. I go to my Xfinity account. Sure enough, if I would have clicked on that link, I have a credit card. I don't click on any links that come to me. If I need to do something, I go out to the web and I actually go to their actual website, or I use my app, and different things like that. So yeah, so if your bank's emailing you or calling you and asking you for your account number, we're not going to do that. We're not going to call you. We don't need to call you for your account number. We have that. So that's the most important thing to remember. We don't need you. Also, your passwords, your banks do not have your password. So when you call and say, hey, what's my password? We don't know that. We do not keep that at all. That is strictly for you guys to have. Next one we have is you receive a call or a text from a relative saying they need help. It's your grandchild. They've been kidnapped. Or you know what, my car broke down. I need money. I shouldn't be where I'm at. What do? They're telling you, don't tell anybody, they're embarrassed. Well, again, that's something else that happens. They prey on people who are elderly because they know they want to take care of their grandkids. They know that they don't want to, they don't want them to get in trouble from their parents. But you know what? Pick up the phone and call somebody. Hey, do you know if X, Y, and Z is really hurt? Are they okay? Because again, that's another one of those scams. They're going to have you send that money out. And once that money is gone, it's gone. A lot of people don't realize that. Jeff Snyder and I, when we had worked at People's, we had a lender at the time who got an email from a client saying, I need to wire money. That's not unusual back then. Okay, no worries. Well, we wired the money, come to find out, the gentleman had sent his computer out prior to, and Jeff, if I'm wrong, just correct me, had sent his computer out to be fixed, or somebody came to his house to fix his computer. Well, guess what? That person ended up hacking into his computer, sending an email to us to say, send this wire, and we sent the wire. So I will tell you, since that day, we have changed policies. Well, any bank has changed policies that no instructions ever come through wire. If I get an email from you and it says to me, hey, I need to send a wire, can you do this for me? I'm going to call you and we're going to have a conversation. I'm going to say, did you send this email? I have clients that will email me and then I'll text them as that secondary of just say, hey, did you send this? I've had an email come to me in as little as from a business owner who doesn't normally email, his CFO does, and says, how do I change signers? Well, that's not unusual. Well, it's unusual for the owner to be asking me that because he doesn't ask those kind of questions. So again, we need to be diligent when we're reading emails, hovering over who that email came from, that little hyperlink, looking, does it match where it says it's going to go? Like Jeff said, it used to be robbing banks was guns ablazing coming in. It's not that anymore. It's coming in and stealing people's money, whether it's by ACH, by wire, opening accounts in my name. How could that have hurt me? That person would have made a deposit into that account. By the time that check would have cleared, guess what? They've already wrote a check to another bank. It's called check kiting. Now they've got to another bank and it's just going around. By the time it gets back to bank A, they're already at bank C and D and E, and they're out the door and the money is gone. So I was lucky enough to get that account closed, thank goodness. And I continue, and I'll go over some different things you can do to close down your credits and that. So next one, you receive a check in amount of $5,000 you were not expecting. The letter is endorsed stating that you won the lottery drawing. You're instructed to cash it and send part of it back for your fees. I think that's a little odd, don't we? I mean, number one, the first question would be, did we enter the lottery? Number two, they're going to take the taxes and all that out for you. You don't have to send that money back to them. And most likely by the time that check goes and clears, guess what? You now owe the money back to the bank because you now spent that money or you use that money to send to the person. And guess what? The other person you sent the money to, they're gone. They're not going to be able to find them. And it's really scary. It really is. We see a lot of it. And when I try to have those conversations as lightly as I can, there's sometimes where I've had to have some come into Jesus moments with people and be like, hey, this is not right. I mean, I'm here to protect your money. And they get angry. And unfortunately, the gentleman that had the girlfriend in Philadelphia, I had to close his account down. That's a risk to us. I can only do so much to protect someone. And if they choose to not, and they want to believe that, I can't do anything else. I mean, we can't force anybody to believe anything, unfortunately. Why they're believing the person they don't even know. And then come to find it, we did find out he only knew the person like 2 weeks. We did find that out eventually, so. And then what's the biggest risk of a fraudster having your personal information? Does anybody know what's the biggest risk? Someone could get a loan in my name. Somebody could go buy a house. Someone could commit fraud. They could do crime. So there's not just taking somebody's money. When you're taking somebody's identity, you can do so much more. That I think we just think of identity stolen. They can get my money. No, people steal people's identities to commit crimes. We had went on a bus trip recently, and one of the gentlemen was saying there was somebody who identity was stolen. The person ended up filing bankruptcy in that person's name. So it took them like 3 years to get that fixed. And it's not easy. I'm still having to do things from just this past week. But the problem is time. Who has time? Who has time to sit down and call all these different places and do all this different stuff? And the thing is, the fraudsters know that. They know that we're busy people. They know that we don't want to take the time to do it. And they know we don't have the time to do it because we're always moving. We're always doing different things like that. So the next slide I have is just a did you know type of, again, the most devastating category of elder scams is romance. Seniors reported a shocking high of $357 million in just 2023. That's just 1 year, 12 months, that 365 days, and that is how much money was lost. And here's the thing, that's just what's reported. Can you imagine how many people aren't speaking up because they're embarrassed or they're just not aware? A lot of times we find that people that are coming in, they don't have anyone to help them. They don't have anyone that's there to direct them. And they're thinking we're the enemy because, we're trying to keep them from love. No, we're trying to help you keep your money is really what it is. Adults 80 and older are most vulnerable to phone fraud and lottery scams because typically people who are older don't use a lot of cell phones. Use a lot of internet. They're not really surfing that much on different things like that. Adults over 80 reported highest loss of prizes, sweepstakes, and lottery scams. Phone scams, more than any other method, was reported the highest losses. Again, because the phone, it's very easy. And that's where a lot of times people will call and say, hey, I'm your bank. And there's been many times where I tell people, if somebody calls you and says, we're your bank, say, okay, thank you, hang up, call us back. But go get the phone number from either your bank statement. That's the most important place, bank statement. You can even look online, but make sure when you're looking online that you're at a correct website, because that's something else that happens. They'll change part of the domain. So keep that in mind too. And the domain is that .com or .gov at the end of an email. So keep that in mind too. They changed that on you. So total losses in just 2023, according to the FBI, were $3.4 billion. That's a really large number. I mean, I think that's more than, yeah, I mean, that's just, when I read that, I was like, wow. And that's just in 1 year. Again, that's in 1 year. So of course, these fraudsters are going to keep going. But again, we need to do things to help diligent and help to put things in place to alert us when things happen. So and also the biggest thing is I tell people, the IRS, the Department of Revenue, they never call you. They will never call you. They will only send you a letter. I had a lady a few years ago come into the bank and she had her phone and she had a flip phone still because it was a couple of years ago. She had it open. She came in and she's holding it there and she's like, I need to send money to the IRS. And I'm like, okay. And she could tell she was very, very upset. Here, her husband just passed away. Here, somebody looked at an obituary, saw who she was, knew who she was, but she was so scared. She thought she was going to jail because they were very adamant that she was going to jail. If she did not pay this, she had to do it, but she couldn't tell anybody. So of course, but guess what, this lady, guess who never did the finances? She didn't. So she was very, worked up. And her and I were at the point where we were passing notes back and forth, handwriting, because she was so afraid to talk, to where eventually I called my security officer over and eventually we shut her phone. And she about lost it because she thought she was going to jail and we had to tell her she wasn't. But again, they prey on our emotions. They prey on us when we're vulnerable. And it's sad. It really, really is. It really is sad that they do that. So you think you've been scammed. So the first thing you want to do is you want to stop the contact right away. Hang up the phone, whichever. You want to secure your finances. And I'll go over some ways to do that also. Check your computer. My biggest thing is change your account passwords. Don't have passwords the same. I know we're all guilty of sometimes doing that, where maybe all of our utilities are the same username and password. Well, guess what? If you're going to sign up for something and that password and that site's been compromised, most likely you're using that email and that site on something else, they're going to figure that out. Also, use a lot of jumbled numbers, symbols, use phrases. I was talking to somebody one day and they were like, yeah, use your address when you're growing up. I'm like, no. You don't ever use your address. You use nothing pertains to you. I met with somebody yesterday, their email address or their password was their name. I'm like, again, no. Make it a phrase, make it something fun. Maybe you say, what's my favorite movie? Put something like that in it. Or use different types of apps. There's something called Authenticator, which will create a password for you and to be more secure. There's different things like that. All right. So the next slide I have is just some little things to kind of go over the different types. Pretty much there's the credit card offers that come out. Watch out for those. Home improvement offers, insurance offers, contests. The health and beauty products. You can get this for $4.99. All you do is pay shipping and handling. But there's all that wee, tiny fine print. That's pretty much after 60 days, guess what? Or after 14-day trial, guess what? You're enrolled. That's another one of those, what they do. Some of those are scams. Some of those they try to get you and that's how they get you. And then it's very hard to cancel. You need to come to the bank. You got to fill out paperwork. And sometimes the banks will not allow you to dispute those charges because of all that small print. It's there. Just got to make sure you read that, especially, again, nothing's ever free. Things always cost something. And if it's $4.99, yeah, you're paying for that shipping, but guess what? In 14 days, that fee is probably coming back. The investment opportunities, again, that's a big one that's coming out. And there's a whole bunch of different investment opportunities. You got Acorn, you have all these different things that are out there now. It's hard to keep up with, I'll be honest. Some things that a scammer may do, there's that authority saying we're the government, yes.
We need to pause for a minute for battery change.
Yep.
On my end. Sorry about that.
No, just let me know if I'm okay on time.
All right, you should be good now.
Correct.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So what they'll say is, we're from the government and we're here to help. No, they're not. But they're going to ask for your information to make you think. And it's not making you really super nice. They make you think, hey, we're going to do this for you. No, they're not. One of the things I will say, if your identity is stolen, check with your bank.
Pause again. The battery's low. feel good about myself.
What's that? Now we should be good.
Good, okay.
Yeah.
Urgency, we need to do this now. That's something else they'll say. We need to do this now. We need to get this taken care of. This can't wait. Oh my gosh, well, guess what? My identity was stolen last Thursday and now it is here Tuesday and I've at least shut that down. What happened? But you know what? Things can wait. To me, if somebody's already stolen it, it's out there. And I'm not sure if you are all aware, there were a bunch of systems that were compromised recently. One was a big one. I apologize, I can't remember the exact name of it, but one was a big one that does like background checks and fingerprinting. They were compromised. Years ago, Target was compromised. I think you can go and read Clorox. If you read, everywhere is compromised. One thing I will say, when you go to make purchases, like a grocery store and that, do the tap to pay if you can. Do something like that, because anytime you do tap, you're not inserting your card, especially at the gas pump. Right now is a big time where they're finding skimmers. I apologize if I'm going all the way off here, but they're finding skimmers. What that means is that minute you enter that card in there, they're getting your information off that card and you can't see them. They're inside the machine. There's things, they actually found one over on the Sheets they just tore down, the one on Queen Street they just took down. So keep that in mind. If you can do the tap, do that tap. It's going to give them a different card number than what your normal card is. Next one is, it's just action. Here's what we must do. They tell you this is what you're going to do. Next one is don't tell anyone. You know what? Don't tell anyone we're doing this. It's okay. No, talk about it. Tell people and again, maybe your story is going to help somebody else. Maybe you're talking to someone about your identity stolen. They may go home and be like, oh, or after this presentation, you may go home and be like, hey, have you checked this? Did you check your credit report? Because it used to be years ago, you could only check your credit once a year. Now you could check it once a week for free. And I have that web address for you guys too. And I would recommend definitely checking that too. Some other things are the telemarketer scams, pretty much saying, you can't miss this, low cost, it's free. Free trials, those free trials, they're never free. You may be only paying for that shipping, but you're going to be paying for it. And it's, like I said, they're very, very hard to cancel on those too. So the next slide I have is just some other different things. Again, it's the romance scams. It's the phishing. You see, I'm a little light right here, right? The phishing, that's the scary one. We are dealing with that a lot in the banking world right now. I would say on average, I probably get an email at least once or twice a week asking me to either send us wire. Can you ACH us money? And then what we're finding is our clients, their vendors are being hacked. They're being phished. I had a client where their vendor email, it was an Amish gentleman, emailed him, which there are some Amish that do use email. There are some Amish that do use some type of electronics and that. But sent an email and said, my next payment, I want it to be by ACH. Here's my routing number. Here's my account number. Well, that employee, who is an office staff, not the owner, did not do their full due diligence. Guess what they did? They changed the account number. Sent out $40,000. It's gone. There's nothing we can do, unfortunately. And come to find out, when I got the email, I saw the red flag right away. I'm like, there's an S missing in the email address. I was like, that should have been your first clue right there. But no, we've become complacent. We become used to doing things. We become used to doing things in our jobs, and we get an email that comes across our desk. Oh, it looks great. Yep, we're going to go ahead and do it. But there should have been some red flags. First off, the email address was wrong. Second off, it's an Amish person. The wording of the email was very well spoken. And it was a bank out of California, right? That should have been the biggest clue right there, because I can tell you there's not many Amish, if any, that are banking out of California. That's probably not going to happen. But unfortunately, that money went out. I had another business last year. They actually sent 3 different invoices out. And the thing is, the vendor that was hacked into, the invoices that were sent were legitimate invoices. They were due. So we need to change our banking account routing number and information. They sent it. They found out about it 3 invoices later, because the company is like, hey, where's our money? We sent it to you. No, we never received it. So again, that client, unfortunately, and It's fraud, but there's nothing the bank can do because they changed that information, if that kind of makes sense. They went in, they changed. It wasn't like somebody broke into their system and they changed that information. Unfortunately, they had changed that. But phishing, you know, it's when someone pretty much pretends to be the victim's bank, the IRS, and you click on that link. Malware, that's a big one right now. That was kind of, I had another lady, somebody transferred money. She gave them access to her computer. They remoted in to fix it. When they remoted in, they transferred money from her checking to her money market. And then they told her they actually sent it to themselves and she needs to send it back. She comes into the bank and needs to do a wire for $20,000. She goes, I need to do a wire for $20,000 to fix my computer. I was like, wait a minute. Why is it costing you $20,000 to fix your computer? Like, that's the first question. But again, to her, that was normal. Because again, she has family that helps her, but not that much. She's at home and she's sitting there and we're watching all the infomercials, we're watching all the stuff. And again, but we were able to stop that money from going out. And that's one thing I will do. If I don't feel good about something, the bank does not, if the bank ever questions you about what you're doing, most of the time they're questioning you because they're checking in to make sure, they're asking you, where did you get this check from? They're not asking you because they want to be in your personal business. They're asking you because they want to make sure you're not a victim of fraud. That's why they're asking, where did you get this check? How long have you had this check? That's why also a lot of times banks will place holds on checks for that reason. They want to hold that money because once you spend that money, if that's fraudulent, you got to pay it back to the bank. And that can be, if it's a few hundred, you know, few $1,000s, that's a significant amount, especially for someone who's on a fixed income or someone who can't even afford to even do that to begin with. All right. So pretty much 7 tips that I have here, pretty much protecting yourself, is keep your computer and mobile devices up to date. Virus scans, but don't go out on the internet and look for a virus scam, or don't do the one before with the malware, someone sending you an email, because that's the other thing. We all have trackers on cookies. If you ever heard of cookies inside of our computers, every website you go to, they see where you've been. Next thing you know, you're shopping for shoes. The next thing you know, you're on another page and here's the ad for shoes that you just shopped at. So again, they track things that we do. So it's a good idea to kind of make sure your computer's up to date. Make sure you have some type of virus protection on your cell phone, on your computer. Set strong passwords. I went to a treasury management school last year, and they talked about passwords and talked about how long it took to crack passwords. And any password that didn't hardly have any numbers, it took like seconds. When you add in those extra characters and out of order numbers and uppercase and lowercase, it took like billions of years for someone to crack that. So that's why I say that use different words, use a bunch of jumbled stuff, now. Just got to remember it though, just that's an FYI, make sure you remember what the password is and don't write it down. I know we all want to write it down, but please try not to write it down. But there are different things within Google. I have an Android, so I have something I can save my passwords in. So that's something that you can attempt to do. Watch out for phishing schemes. We talked a little bit about that. Keep your personal information, keep your personal information personal. Hackers can use social media to figure out your passwords. Again, we kind of talked about that a little bit. Secure your internet connection, especially like if you're out and about, let's say you're at a cafe and you want to jump on their Wi-Fi with your cell phone or your laptop, don't go check your bank account. Don't do that because that is not a secure, unless you are lucky to have something called a VPN, that's a whole different thing. But unless you're lucky to have something like that on your phone that can help protect you so you can search and different things like that. Because when you're on that person can see everything that you're doing. And shop safely. Make sure when you're shopping, you want to make sure there's a little tiny padlock. When you're looking at the web address right before the www. If there's a little tiny padlock, that means that site is secure. You also want to look for something that says HTTPS. That S means secure. That's something else when you're going to different websites and that. And I know this seems like a lot, but you read the site's privacy policies. A lot of times there's terms and conditions. Yeah. What do? We quickly, we go through and we hit the button. But you don't know what you've just agreed to. You could have agreed to that we're going to give your information to everybody. You could agree to, you know what, we're going to send you advertisements. I'll be honest, I try to opt out as much stuff as I can because I get so much junk mail. It's like an email, it's like spam email. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to keep turning stuff off because if not, I keep getting it and it just fills up my inbox and that, so. And then the next thing is, okay, your identity is stolen. Now, what do? So the most important thing to do is, first thing is just relax, because I'll be honest, I was a little bit of a mess, just because it is, that you feel you're taken advantage of, you feel vulnerable, and it's just not a happy feeling at all, because you're just like, okay, what else are they gonna do? What else do I have to worry about? Is something else gonna happen? Or is this gonna hinder me when I go to buy my next vehicle, or if I wanna buy a house, is this gonna affect my car insurance? Because our credit affects that too. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't think people really realize what all the ripple effect of everything they do, but they're not. And if they really put this to good use, they can make probably a lot more money, to be honest with you, a legal way, and that. So first thing you want to do is you can actually contact the Federal Trade Commission online at identitytheft.gov, or there's also a phone number you can call them. I'll be honest, calling anybody anymore, you sit on the phone forever. I feel like you just sit there, and by the time I feel like sometimes you're transferred like 5 and 6 times, and then you have to repeat your story like 1,000 times. To me, it's easy to go online. It's very easy. It's very user friendly. It walks you through exactly what to do. Contact the 3 major credit bureaus. There's 3. There's TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. You can actually put freezes on all of them too. So that's what I started doing. I started putting freezes on those. So what that means is, if I go to apply for something, or if somebody fraudulently applies, they're gonna get an alert. They're gonna stop. They're not gonna let them. They're gonna have to contact me to figure out, are you the one applying for this credit? Also contact your bank, your credit card companies, and other places you have accounts at, letting them know, hey, my identity was stolen, because who knows if maybe they were compromised, or maybe they can put an alert on your account because now someone else can't call and say they're you, or say that they're you. Also, unfortunately, you should contact your local police department. I say unfortunately, just because sometimes, again, getting a hold of them and having them come out. Now, I would feel bad because it's not an emergency, and I feel like I'm taking away from the emergencies because this is a non-emergency. But you can call the local number to the police department and let them know your identity's been stolen and you want to file a police report. Does anybody know why you want to contact the police by chance? Anybody? The reason being is because what if somebody goes out and commits a crime in my name? What proof do I really have that my identity was stolen if I don't contact the police and I don't have a case number? It just kind of helps you in case you have to fight that fight. That one gentleman, from what I gather, like I said, it took him years, the one that the person filed bankruptcy in his name. So it's not an easy thing to get through. And then the biggest thing is also close any new account that's opened in your name. That's the most important thing for that too. And last but not least, like I said earlier, is you can actually check all 3 credit bureaus weekly. It used to be you had to pay for them. You do not get your score, but you can at least check them weekly. And what I actually recommend, you can scatter it out. Some people will check them all at the same time, or some people will check one. I like to check mine all at the same time because that kind of puts me on, I'm a planner, kind of puts me on a path. So then I know the next time. But it's annualcreditreport.com. That's where you can go and you can pull your credit report, like I said, for free. Keep an eye on that, go out and check on that. A lot of them now have alerts that you can set up for free to alert you. Experian keeps wanting me to join their little plan. I keep saying, no, keep me in my current plan. All it does is just tell me when I have a new credit. I've actually attached my bank account, so it lets me know, like, if a large withdrawals come out of my account. Again, we become complacent. We get used to life and we kept doing things. So we just got to figure out ways we can help to protect ourselves, because unfortunately, fraud's not going away. All we can do is implement things to alert us when they happen, unfortunately, and sometimes we find out after the fact, unfortunately. So if anybody has any questions at all, I'd be happy to answer any. Like I said, if anybody would like any of the information, I guess, Sarah, yes.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep.
Oh, shame on you.
$500. So Jim called me at the office like, where's Keaton?
It is, it's scary. And then, you being that person where, you're having to prove, no, I wasn't really, but nobody knows, they all know you weren't there, but still, that still makes you feel uneasy too, because here's someone portraying to be you. I mean, it happens. It's a very scary thing. It's just, fraud's just not going away. And in our line of work, we see it. And I feel bad for these businesses when they get taken. And for anybody who's business owners, your bank has things to put in place for your businesses. It's called Positive Pay. It's called ACH debit block. Yes, there's fees for those things, but I'll tell you, we pay for health insurance. We pay for car insurance. We pay for that stuff in case something happens. With these fraud services for businesses, this helps protect your business's money. If a check comes through and it's not on that approved list, guess what? You get the decision that check and say, you know what? This check's no good. I'm going to send it back. And that money's never even touched your money. You're good to go. Same thing with ACHs. Yes.
Two things. First of all, I'd like to thank all of the men in this club over 60 who have girlfriends in Philadelphia. And the second thing is, you mentioned placing orders over the internet. Maureen, the next time you order Viagra, be very careful.
Yes, be very careful. Yes.
I understand there's ATM machines now that sell Bitcoin.
Yeah.
That would be the purpose of those, except for crime. I mean, buying Bitcoin, ATM.
I did go, because we have one, no, I think he's in crypto. I know one person who does that. I'll be honest, I'm not really into all that. I can't even wrap my head around it. No, I think we as a bank, we've thought about dabbling a little bit, and then I think it was like, no, what are we doing type of thing. So no, I'm not comfortable with that. I don't know much about the Bitcoin, and I purposely do that, to be completely honest with you, because I think it's just, I agree with you. It's just weird. It's kind of like, yeah, I'm with you on that. And that's the thing. We have those different stuff. We have cryptocurrency and we have that. There's a lot of different stuff out there. So anybody else? Yeah.
Get an email from your boss. Need you to go and get 5 credit cards or whatever and whatever. A couple of my employees recently got that by text message.
Yep.
It really looks like it came text message from the president of our company.
It's funny you say that. Jeff and I we used to work with a gentleman that he actually got an email. He got a text. I think it was a text, wasn't it? He got a text message from the president of our company. He asked him to go buy like 5 Google Play cards. He went and he did it. I don't know, but he went and he did it, and it came to be, oh, wait a minute, this was not right. I got a text message, and gentleman we work with we call him Hal. Well, the text message was like, I need to speak with you, and it said Harold. I'm like, well, first off, I know he doesn't go by that. Or my real name is Gwendolyn. If I'm getting anything in Gwendolyn, I know for a fact that you don't know who I am. Or if you're calling me and you're asking for Gwendolyn, I know that you're not my bank, because my bank has Gwen. You're not anything up, because everything has Gwen on it. So it's, again, we just got to be diligent. We just got to be, and if be an advocate for your friends or your family. If someone's coming to you and what they're talking about seems a little odd, be like, are you sure you really want to do this? Because you may be saving them from something that they didn't, or have them go to their bank and talk to the bank about it. So anybody else?
If you're out and about and you're somewhere where the internet service is unsecure, if you slide so you're not now on the internet, but instead using your cell service, is the cell service more secure than this unsecure internet?
I don't really think, I'll be honest, this is my personal opinion, I don't think anything's really secure, to be honest with you. I think there's a loophole into every single thing that we do, just because. I'm going to be honest, I really do. I think anything that we're over, unless you're on, like I said, it's called a VPN. It's a virtual private network. Thank you. Wow. All right. So, I have Verizon, and I actually have what's called digital security. So I have that on my cell phone. And then I also have it on my at home too.
How is that?
Because anytime I sign into my app, I have to have my password, or I have to have my thumbprint, or I have to have my face. If let's say you decided that you knew my credentials and you want to go on your cell phone on the app, you're going to have my cell phone, because it has to send a secure access code to me. So again, that's things if you have a credit card, or if you go onto your banking, you have to do that. You have to send a secure access code to yourself. Any of my business owners or people who work in businesses, one thing I recommend is do not recognize your browser when you are at work. Because if you do that and your computer stays there, again, how many people use the same passwords for everything? You leave that there, somebody comes in, your cleaning people, they log into your computer, who knows what they can do, or anybody who comes into that who's near your computer. So I always tell people, don't recognize your browser. So like on my cell phone, I don't recognize my cell phone. So every time I log in to my banking app, I have to put my secure access code in. I just have it set that way, or I have to have my thumbprint or my face. So good question. Well, thank you guys very much. Oh, yes.
When you down courthouse,
something to live there, and then, come and sell your house for me.
Mhm.
We can go down there and put a stop them down there so that nobody can do it in the future.
Yeah, you mean like going to like the recorder of deeds and yeah, you could absolutely. And it's good to, yeah, you can actually do that. You can go down. Yeah, absolutely. You can go down and put, so no one does that for you, making sure again, no one's recorded a lien against you. That's something else to do. Sometimes that will happen where individuals can actually put a lien against somebody else. So yeah, that can happen. So.
Well, stay to answer any questions.
Yep, absolutely. Any questions you have, or anything like that. So give this back to you.
Gwendolyn, thank you very much. Here, stay here for just a second. I told Gwen that, we will donate a book to the Logos Academy in honor of her presentation this morning. So the book that's going to go in is A Picture for Harold's Room. So
Website.
When? It's very safe and secure. Let's give Gwendolyn a nice round of applause. I feel like you, Jeff, I would much rather be in the Flintstone days. I do not like social media. I don't like a whole lot of electronic stuff. And in some ways, I think that can actually keep us more secure because I understand that check washing is a big thing or was happening at some point in time too. So no matter what, we always have to be diligent about what it is that we do. So great presentation. Thank you very much. I will point out next week, our district governor will be visiting our club. So I'd like to see this same kind of a crowd here next week. He was gracious enough to come to our crab picnic. So some of you may have got to meet him already, but nice and neat guy. So hopefully you can all be here for his time here at our club. Other than that, I'm going to say thank you all for being here and we'll see you next week.